So James seems to want to direct our attention to the righteousness of Christ, because when we look at the righteousness of Christ, we understand that it matters how we live, that there is an implication of the gospel, through the gospel of Christ and all that Christ has done, that we ought to live in a certain way, that we ought to live in a godly way.
This is a Truth Transforms Truth Nugget, a daily dose of truth for your daily transformation.
And so we ought to go and do likewise. We ought to care for our neighbors. So the solution of partiality is to love our neighbors. So we need to have compassion on everyone around us. There's a great focus on not being partial based on people's appearance or status in this passage here, but I want to make kind of another application. That application is that we don't want to be impartial in how we love others. Is there someone in your life that's really difficult to love? We want to make sure we're impartial in how we love others. And so we want to look at those around us, look at our neighbors, and which is everyone in our life, and not ask the question, well, who is my neighbor? Well, who do I really need to love like I love myself? Who do I really need to love like I'm supposed to love God? And the answer is everyone. So think of someone in your life that's really hard to love, and think, well, how can I better love this person? How can I be impartial in my love for them? That's something definitely to be considering. We need to demonstrate love and impartiality to those who are partial in their treatment of us. Someone might not treat you the best, but we still need to demonstrate our love for them. The solution to partiality is to love our neighbors as ourselves. And since that's listed among the two greatest commandments, it's important for us to continually ask ourselves how well we're loving our neighbors. So we've seen a demonstration of partiality. James pointed out the solution to partiality, and now we'll look at living without partiality in verses 12 to 13. In verse 12. So speak and so act as those who are to be judged under the law of liberty. For judgment is without mercy to one who has shown no mercy. Mercy triumphs over judgment. So James here gives a final exhortation in the section. He started the section with a command. He said, show no partiality. And now he ends the section with a command. He said, speak and act this way. And he's saying that we need to live out our faith. Our faith needs to produce good works. Our faith should move us to live in a way that we love others equally. And he says, speak and act as those judged under the law of liberty. He's saying that we should compare ourselves to Christ and live in that way. And by the way, to be judged under the law of liberty is a far greater requirement than to be judged under the Old Testament law. To be judged under the law of liberty is to be compared to Christ. It would be like putting Christ on one scale and putting us on the other. It's not the fact that we just can't never sin in our lives. It's that we don't ever sin, but we also have fulfilled all of the righteous works of Christ. And that's what happens when we're justified, is all of Christ's righteousness, all that he's ever done, all that he accomplished is transferred to us upon salvation. And so James seems to want to direct our attention to the righteousness of Christ, because when we look at the righteousness of Christ, we understand that it matters how we live, that there is an implication of the gospel, through the gospel of Christ and all that Christ has done, that we ought to live in a certain way, that we ought to live in a godly way.